Standing room only at Christ the King Hall on Sunday afternoon as FNM supporters, including the former housing minister and member of parliament for High Rock, turned out to hear from their party leader.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham!
Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham received a standing ovation and was greeted by party supporters who were waiting to hear for themselves what led to the firing of Housing Minister Kenneth Russell. The Prime Minister wasted no time in presenting his case.
Some time ago, I delegated to my deputy, Mr. Simonet, the responsibility to go and speak to Ken Russell and tell Ken it suggested he step aside as a candidate in the next election. Brent brought me back a very profane message from Ken. I said, well, I got to bell this cat myself. And by cat, I don't mean to be derogatory. I mean, it is a job I've got to do myself.
Ingraham said he then met with a High Rock member of parliament and told him that the party is interested in new talent and that if the party wins the next election, he would not be considered for a cabinet post. The FNM leader said he then suggested that Russell step aside and allow the party to nominate someone else.
I made him an offer as to what would happen for him if he did that. He told me that he would get back to me next week.
Ingraham said a few days later he traveled to Grand Bahama for a meeting, and during that meeting a High Rock FNM supporter, Elkina Pinder, got up and talked about a proposed project that had been rejected by the cabinet on 4 occasions.
I asked Elkina in the meeting, what project are you talking about? He then handed the mic to Ken. He handed the mic to Ken. I told Ken, go ahead. Ken described the project. I spoke some words afterwards. I saw Ken, I think it was the following Monday. And I told him then, I said, listen, the offer I made to you last week is hereby withdrawn. Because if it wasn't so near to election, I would fire you for what you did.
The Prime Minister said following that incident, Russell began speaking to the media, and he later called him in for a meeting.
I told him that I had decided that he ought to tender his resignation. And I said to him, and I also want you to know that the person you say, who does Hubert Ingraham think he is? He is the leader of the FNM and Prime Minister of the Bahamas.
The Prime Minister said Kenneth Russell did not tender his resignation, and as a result, he was fired.
You elected me as your leader. It meant that you trust me. When you don't, it's time for me to go. I assure you, I did what any Prime Minister who's worth his salt would do to a minister who acts in a manner inconsistent with Cabinet government in the Bahamas. And there's nothing personal about it. It is what had to be done.
Ingraham said the former housing minister has since called him a tyrant and dictator. He said while he's offended, he doesn't take it personal.
I am big enough and strong enough to overcome that and not to have to get in a back and forth with him. I'm the leader of the FNM. My political opponent is the PLP. They are the persons on whom my political guns will be turned.
Natalie Martin Burrows, ZNS News.